Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 13 of Let's Talk. Today, we're talking about smart strategies for cell phone use, and especially for kids under the age of 14, and not just cell phones, but all kinds of screens and smart devices. So, my name is Michelle Cox. I'm a certified life coach for kids, and I also love to work with parents and any adult who's facing some challenges of any kind. So I'm also the CEO of the Changemakers of East Texas, and this is a women's organization where we seek to see how we can implement change in our lives, in our families, in our communities, and make the world a little bit of a better place. And smartphones, TVs, laptops, devices of all kind, they have an impact in our lives. We use them, we need them. We've become quite dependent on them, haven't we? So we can't, though, say we just have unbridled, unreined usage of all devices at all times at any age. So research is showing that we really have great cause to be concerned about the amount of screen time that kids get, because what's happening is their brains are literally forming as they're growing and developing. And the more that they get into any sort of repetitive pattern or behavior, their brain is going to wire to expect that. And especially with things like smart devices and games and television and smartphones, all those things, they create quite a response in our brain, because every time we see something new, bing, we get a little bit of a dopamine hit. Every time a child is playing a video game and they're pushing buttons and having to navigate and winning and losing, and there's just all this, even adrenaline is happening, but there's also dopamine. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter. It's in the brain. It's something we produce. Totally fine, normal, and natural. We need dopamine. Dopamine sometimes gets too bad of a rap, but we do need dopamine. The thing about dopamine is that it doesn't leave a feeling of satisfaction and contentment. Dopamine has an interesting play in a role to play in our lives, where dopamine helps us to want it again and to do it again and to have it again, eat it again, drink it again, play it again, do that behavior again. It's there to get us to want to have more. And that can be useful at times. And it can also, in excess and in the like an inappropriate overusage or misuse, then dopamine can actually have a harmful effect on us. So when it comes to kids, you know that they're going to want to play video games, you know that they want to watch TV, and they want to have a device, a tablet, whatever it is, because there's a lot of pleasure that comes with that dopamine hit of playing that game, of scrolling on YouTube, social media, all the things that are available these days. We get dopamine hits and we get a pleasure response. That's why we do it as adults, right? We scroll, we scroll social media too, because every time there's something new, ooh, it gets our attention. Ooh, the next thing, it's like every few inches we're getting a new something to look at, something to be curious about, something to be shocked by or upset by. Right? Social media likes to push all of our buttons. So let's think about children for a minute. So children have a highly developed lower brain. They were born with the ability to survive. Survival is all about avoiding pain, seeking pleasure, and conserving energy. And I like to also add having a sense of agency or autonomy. So this is very primitive. This is very basic. This is very fundamental to survival, to avoid pain. We don't want to get hurt to the point where it could harm us permanently. Um, we want to feel good. We want to eat things. We want to experience pleasure in life that is also a reason to keep us alive. Right? That's just part of our survival mechanism. Conserving energy, like that keeps us alive too. If we expended too much energy, like to the extreme, it could wear us out and we could be very ill or even die. So again, this is just survival, right? The primitive brain, the lower brain, lower centers of the brain are very developed in children because they need to be able to have that instinct to survive. Now, the higher brain is what develops later. And this is the center for thinking and reasoning, planning ahead, regulating behavior, social awareness, all those kinds of things. That comes later. So that's why a baby or toddler will have no sense of shame when they throw a big fit, in a grocery store or because they want a toy. The thinking part is not really there. They're all about wanting to have that pleasure of having that toy or that candy that they see in the store. So when it comes to screen time, what do you think is activated in a child when they are experiencing the flashing lights, the stimulation, the what's going to happen now, and can I beat this bad guy, and all those things that are happening when they're using screens? It's definitely this lower part of the brain looking for pleasure, right? And so when we take that away from them, that becomes painful. It's a loss. They're lacking their access to dopamine and excitement and thrill. And so for sure that primitive brain is going to have a very emotional response. This might look a little familiar to you when a child, maybe your own child, you're setting a limit, like it's time to turn off the TV, you've been playing video games too long, you might find them completely melt down and become very angry and just despondent that you took that away. Um, and remember, don't take it personally. They're not mad at you. Their brain is like, wait, but my dopamine source and my pleasure seeking source is being ripped away. My survival center is under attack. And so there's likely to be a very big demonstrative expression of dissatisfaction. And I had that just yesterday. It was so funny. So, not really funny, but so my youngest is 8 and he had wanted to play a video game. So he brought me the laptop and he said, "Can you log me in? I want to have my game time." And I said, "Oh, wouldn't that be fun? But guess what? You actually lost your next game turn because the last time you played, I found you playing a video game that I told you was off limits. You had switched games when I had left the room and I came back. You were playing a first person shooter game, not like a seriously bad one, but still, that's one of my limits. No first person shooter games." And and even though it was kind of like dorky graphics, but I was like, "Nope, I don't like that you pulled this up. This isn't what we agreed that you were going to play, and we have a rule against that. So you're not going to play today." "Oh, but why can't I just lose tomorrow's turn and I play today?" I said, I don't think that works that way. If I give you a game turn today and then we have to skip tomorrow you're still going to be upset, but it's not also showing you that you're having a consequence for the last time you played last week. So, sorry. Okay, it was very much this scenario right here. Lots of tears and crying and "You're the meanest mom ever," and I was just kind of like, okay, I guess that's how you're feeling right now. Your survival brain is taking over and this is very catastrophic. And he just cried and cried and I just kind of let him continue until I got something else out to distract him, and I got his attention with something else. And so he calmed down and it was okay. But it was a good 5 minutes, maybe even a little longer, of him just crying and crying. And this is so unfair. And this isn't something I've ever told him before. He's never heard he shouldn't play games like that. And I was like, okay, well, yeah, right now, the thinking reasoning part is turned off. So I can't really reason with him. So I'm just going to say, well, sorry, but this is the rule. And this is what we're going to stick with. So, what I want to offer you, parents, is when you are faced with your child's big emotions that are uncomfortable for us to witness and to have to deal with, remind yourself that you are the boss. You are the guardian of their brain. They are not going to make the best decisions for themselves all the time, every day, and we don't either as adults. But even more so, it's challenging for them when they have a literally underdeveloped center of the brain that helps them to manage themselves. They're just not going to do it. If I gave free reign to my kids to have ice cream, candy, and cookies whenever they want, I can guarantee you they're going to eat it all and just keep on going with it and not regulate themselves very well because they're young. This part of the brain is not fully developed. This part of the brain is getting washed with dopamine and just so full and delighted. So they're not going to regulate very well. So your child's emotions don't lead the way when it comes to setting healthy limits for your kids. Your thinking and reasoning, your wisdom, your experience, your role as a parent, as an adult, as the legal guardian of this child is what leads. And I know how hard it can be when your child's emotions are getting really big and they're very dramatic. And then they even start saying things that they really don't mean. You're the worst mom in the world. I wish you would go away and be homeless. And I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? And I just, just don't take it personally. It's that survival brain demanding pleasure from that dopamine that they have been experiencing, and they're wishing they could have more because it doesn't satisfy them. They will never be satisfied. They will never get enough game time. They'll never get enough screen time. It's just not possible unless they really binge. I don't know. I haven't done this with my kids, but like 10 hours straight. Maybe then they'd just be like ill. and just can't handle another minute. But I haven't tried that. I'm not interested in trying that. But just know in your role as the parent, the more mature brain, you lead the way. Your wisdom and experience, and not your child's emotions. They will come to you and say, all my friends have this game. All my friends have this device. All my friends, whatever. And they're feeling a loss. So you validate that. I'm so sorry you don't have a phone of your own. You're 9. I don't give a phone to my kids till high school. Family rule. Sorry, you're kid number 5. It's not changing. um, so make it very clear with yourself. You are the guide. You are the guardian. We can't let this compulsive behavior and emotional demand be the leader for a child's screen use. It's not the best tool. It's not the best measuring stick to measure how much time they should have. How much access should they have? You've got to use wisdom and judgment of your own and learn how to manage their unhappy feelings and just let that let them get it out. I try not to stop them right away, just like, oh yeah, that's hard. I know, I'm sorry. That's really tough. And then try to find a way to distract them because reasoning is not going to work. You'll just be in a cycle, and just make it very clear, and then try to find something else that's going to distract them and kind of catch their attention, and then let's move on. And it could be like pulling out a game or a puzzle or going for a walk, or let's make a snack. Let's do something else, and really that will help them. The more that you are demonstrating that you are the leader, that you are the one to set the limits, and you do it with love and with their best interest in mind, they learn to accept it. It really does happen. I'm going to talk about that more in just a minute. Because number 1, know your role and let you be the guide and not their emotions. Number 2 is lockdown. In my opinion, no child should ever have free reign on any device. TV, tablet, phone, iPad, whatever it is. I really don't think that any child under 14 should have free reign to use it whenever they want, as much as they want, any time of the night, as whatever. And at any time in the car, in the store, in the restaurant. I mean, no, I don't do that. And I want to encourage other parents to think about this. If your child is constantly looking for a device, their brain is being wired to need it and being wired to depend on it. They won't know how to engage in a social setting as well when they're constantly being wired and trained to be entertained and babysat, really, in public. When you're in the store, bring your kids in to see, hey, I'm looking at the apples. I'm picking out apples that look good. Oh, this is a better price. I'm going to buy this one. What do you think of this? What should we get, for dinner tomorrow? Let's work on this together. Learn how to use a grocery store. Every time your kids are with you in public, they're learning a skill. When you're in a restaurant, learning how to wait without pulling out a phone. That's a really powerful thing for kids to know how to wait and be patient at school. You'll see that they can do better in a classroom setting when they're not, like their brain is not being wired to need a cell phone all the time, or a tablet or an iPad, something like that. So the more that you can help them to have an open, unfettered brain, to look around the room, notice things. If they're getting bored, have a notepad and paper and a pen in your bag. Pull it out, play tic-tac-toe. Find ways to engage them while they're waiting. Let them figure out how to manage themselves, how to handle boredom and waiting. And that helps so much with delayed gratification, which teachers really struggle with when children don't have that skill, when they're not working on it regularly, because they need to know how to wait. They need to know how to get in line and be in line, and they need to know how to sit and take time to work on their work and focus on it. Like those things are going to improve when a child is not being set in front of a screen at all times. So with lockdown, I also specifically mean everything has a password. Everything has a passcode. The kids don't know what they are. If I need to type something in, they know to look away. And I'm like moving the thing aside, right? Because yeah, my kids use screens, but I'm looking for a way to keep it balanced so that they are not so dependent on a screen and technology and all the dopamine, that they can experience normal life and handle it and feel comfortable in it. So everything has passwords. My kids do not have access to anything. The TV doesn't have a password, but they're in such a habit, and it's such just an expectation in our family. The TV's off. The TV is off unless they've had lunch. It has to be afternoon. It's the summertime. Afternoon, they have to have eaten and brushed their teeth. They have to have done a helping job. Bed needs to be made. If there's laundry in the laundry room, it better be out. It better be in their drawers. I have expectations for them. They know as they get older, they come to me and they say, what's my helping job so that I can have my game time later? What's my helping job so I can watch Dude Perfect later? When they know what the expectation is and I'm consistent about it, they come asking me, what's my job? And then they can go do it. Today my 13-year-old, he doesn't have a phone. He knows if he wants to play anything, he's got to get his checklist done. And he comes to me, what's my helping job? Okay, let's see what needs to be done. Can you vacuum upstairs? Can you vacuum and take care of that? He went and did it. I heard the vacuum turn on about 3 minutes later. I was like, this is amazing. It doesn't come overnight, my friends, but when you are consistent, when you're patient, but also firm, then they know they're not going to get around it. So that's what I mean by lockdown. If they want access, they've got to get it from me or my husband. And they know that they've got things that they have to be on top of. They've got to take responsibility for, and then they get their turn. So highly recommend. You get a lot of cleaning done that way. I'm a huge fan of children learning how to work and knowing how to clean the toilet and scrub the floor and take care of things. So, this is a great way to help them to have an incentive. You want the TV on tonight? We're going to watch a movie? Awesome. Let's watch a really fun movie. That kitchen needs to be cleaned. We've got to put everything away, wipe the counters, sweep up. Um, so that's number two. Number three is the right time and the right place. So again, thinking about the timing of using any sort of screen time, of any using any sort of screen, there's a time for it and there's a place for it. So in your family, a really important strategy to keep children safe, because there's so much garbage on the internet, as we all know, they need to be in a public space with that device. So if they're going to play a video game, if they want to, my daughter likes to type up stories and poems, and she's cute and adorable. So, but still, that laptop, it's in the kitchen. It's the screen is facing common area, so that we're aware of what we're doing. You know, especially with my younger kids, I'll just say absolutely no screens when I'm out. So if I have an older kid in charge, then they know laptops, iPads, those are all put away. They're not going to be using them. They might get to watch a movie together. You know, I have older kids, so they can babysit and they can have a movie. Um, but that's a really good strategy too. If your kids know, I want to have access, I know where to do it, I know how to do it, I know how to keep myself safe. We talk about, like, if anything comes up, you see something where people are undressed or something violent is happening, then you can close it and come tell me, and and we'll make sure that I know I can come help take care of that. Thankfully, we haven't had big run-ins with that, um, but it is a really valuable safeguard when you say everything is in common area, so nobody's alone in the room. You know, when I'm talking about kids 14 and under, just they've got to have supervision. So that would also mean no TVs in bedrooms. Kids don't need to be playing video games in the middle of the night. They don't need to watch movies at 2 in the morning. They really don't. Number four strategy is make it a family experience. So, yes, there are times when I will use a movie for babysitting. Watch a show, or not a full movie, but maybe they can watch an episode of something while I'm making dinner. Um, we'll do that. But the kids are watching together. So we want to have balance, of course, right? So screen time doesn't always have to be about the individual having this major dopamine fest, doing whatever they want, watching whatever they want, and just like binging. But when we can make it a family experience, show them how to use screens in a way that brings the whole family together. We're going to watch a movie together. We're going to play a game on Jackbox or with a gaming system. We don't have one anymore. We used to, but anyways. um, but you know, find ways to make it a family experience. So it's not just isolated experiences, but bring the family together. Strategy number five, parents, we've got to look at our own use. What are we doing? How much are we using it? What are we using our phone for? And is it interrupting our family time? If we're sitting at the dinner table, are we looking at our phones and the kids are just eating? They don't have devices. Great, but am I doing it? Sometimes I am. Like, oh, texting, responding to a text, looking something up. I could do that later. So this is something I'm working on as well, and I can see the benefit of showing my kids how, when they do have a device of their own, when they do have that phone finally, when they're in high school, which is a different episode, then they can see how an adult who's being responsible uses this tool. That it's also not just a compulsion that I'm just going to compulsively use, but I'm going to show them I'm intentional with how I use my phone, how I'm using my screen time. But I want my kids to see that I'm also busy in other activities that are fulfilling to me, so they can see there are other ways to have fun. We can get dopamine hits in a healthy way that doesn't like totally take over and reprogram our brains to be dependent on them. Um, you know, spending time together as a family, actually also helps produce oxytocin. And that's another episode. I want to talk about the difference between oxytocin and dopamine, because oxytocin is one of those feel good, feel love and joy brain chemicals that we experience when we're with our loved ones and we're spending that time together. So I have my thought cycle diagram. I'm going to do a really quick demonstration what it looks like and feels like when our child is having a meltdown, when we've set a limit and they're upset about it. Because when you can change the way that you respond to your child, you can help things to be much more calm and sturdy in your home with boundaries. But that doesn't come very easily until you are realizing you're thinking about yourself as a parent or about your child and the roles that you have. So here's a quick demonstration. Um, let's say that I have told my child that, and let's go through yesterday. I told my son he couldn't play his video game that he wanted to play because he had turned on a different one when I was not looking and was playing a game that I didn't approve of. So he was crying, very heartbroken, okay, very dramatic. And so when we're using the thought cycle diagram, up here in the cloud is where you want to put the event, the thing that happened, the thing somebody said or did that is upsetting to you. In this case, I'm just going to be very, very non-dramatic about it myself, just very straight facts, okay? So my child is crying. If I say my child's throwing a fit, that's me adding a little drama to it. I'm making some sort of judgment that's bigger. So I'm going to just keep it very simple. My child is crying that he can't play. Okay. So the first time around, I mean, for me too, as a parent, as anyone, when our child starts throwing a fit, they're starting to cry and say you're a terrible mom and all that stuff. Woo, I can get defensive. I can start to feel like, how dare you? I'm doing this for your own good. Okay, so I can get defensive. Well, what would my thinking be? Let's put this here. Because with this wonderful cycle, you don't have to go perfectly linear. You can kind of jump around and go back and forth. So if I'm defensive, I start feeling defensive when my child is crying that he can't play and he's, calling me names and whatever. What might my thinking be that creates that feeling of defensiveness? It might be something like, well, I'm the boss. Who does he think he is? Right? That's when we get defensive. We might start to feel angry. And then what are we likely to do when we're feeling defensive and angry? Our child is, testing the limits and challenging our authority. That's when we might say, fine, you're going to have this other punishment and this other punishment. You're going to lose your next 5 game turns. So how about a whole month, right? We're going to give more punishments. We might start to raise our voice. And then it just cycles, and what happens as it escalates? We have a big argument. Okay. What is your relationship like now? And if I misspell things, just laugh. It's fine. I'm like, is there an E? I don't know. So argument. And what's the nature of the relationship now? Is it close or is it tense or what's happening? It's definitely going to be very tense, right? Oof, this marker is having some issues, or maybe it's just me. Tense relationship. Okay, so that's the result. Tense relationship. We're having an argument. Mom's mad, the kid's mad, and I'm going to continue to think, well, I'm the boss. Who does he think he is? Of course, I get to set these limits. I'm the boss, right? And you can go around and around and continue to be defensive and angry. Now, there's another way that I think parents might respond, and I certainly have done all the things at some point. I have 6 children. The oldest is 22, the youngest is 8. I'm a way different mom now than I was at any other stage. But another way that I have responded, and maybe you can relate, is to feel afraid and insecure. And I'm not sure if I should enforce this or not. I'm uncomfortable with this big, explosive, emotional tirade. What might my thinking be if I'm feeling afraid or insecure about my child's demonstration that he doesn't agree? I might think something like, am I a good mom? Am I doing the right thing? Am I a good mom if he's crying? And upset? Ooh, that's challenging. We have it in our instinct, in our nature, to protect our children. To see them crying and upset about my behavior, my limit that I set, can be really disturbing. We don't want our children to be sad. We don't want them to be upset. We don't want them to dislike us. Is he going to dislike me now? He's going to hate me forever. I'm ruining his life. I'm not giving him a phone. He's in middle school. I've had that through, gone through that too, with all the kids going through middle school, and we don't give them a phone. And we've even had our friends, or sorry, our kid's friend say to him, your parents must not like you. They must not love you. They're not giving you a phone. You're in 8th grade. Like, well, actually, it's because we love you that we're setting these limits and delaying the handing of a phone. And yeah, so with some of our kids, we said, our first kids, we were like, not till you're 16. So they didn't get a phone till they were 16 when they learned how to drive and they had a car to pay for all of that. That's a different story. But when they're younger, especially, their brain is in such a stage of development that they need to know that there are limits, and they need to know that they can rely on us to really do the best thing for them. Not to say that there isn't time to have compromise, to have conversation. Okay, well, let's see how we can negotiate. Sometimes we might be able to work something out. Sometimes some things, though, I'm like, hard line, no, not going to happen. Okay, so if I'm thinking, am I a good mom if he's crying and upset? I'm going to feel afraid of my decision. I'm going to feel afraid of this power that I have to set limits and boundaries. I'm going to feel very insecure that I know what's best for my child. If he or she is crying, just their heart is completely broken, they're so upset, have I done the right thing? Ooh, that can really challenge you as a parent. Okay, so then how am I likely to behave when I'm thinking, am I a good mom? I'm not sure. They're so upset. That could mean I did the wrong thing. Then guess what? You might cave in and say, okay, never mind, fine, you get your way. Okay, and what happens here? Now the child knows that the limits can be pushed. The child is learning to test you even harder. Because if they can push hard enough, mom or dad is going to give in. And actually, that's not very comforting for a child. They actually really need parents who are sturdy and steady and consistent. That actually brings a feeling of safety to a child. They might not like the limit But knowing that it's consistent is actually very comforting for a child subconsciously. So now there's an imbalance of power. Everyone's kind of forgetting their roles. Okay, and it's going to continue to cycle through. Am I a good mom if he's crying? I better give in and let him do whatever he wants. Okay, so how do we change this? How do we work through this? What's another way? There's so many ways. There's a million ways to handle this. But every person is a different way. But here's the strategy. We're learning strategies today. My child is crying that he can't play. I want to feel I want to feel confident and secure. I want to feel confident and secure. I also want to feel some compassion. Yeah, I know what that's like. To lose access to something that I want, to have to put a limit, excuse me, on something that I want to do. Yeah, we get that every day, right, parents? I'd rather just relax right now, but I've got to make sure that the kitchen's clean and, kids are taking showers and whatever. We do this. We do a lot of self denial as parents, but children will never learn it if we don't make them learn it. Self denial is a really helpful thing. So if I am setting limits, I'm doing them a favor. I'm teaching them a skill. Self denial is a good thing, not to excess. But okay, so my child is crying that he can't play, and we're talking about video games. I want to feel confident, secure, and have compassion for him. So my thinking has to help create that feeling in my body. So my thinking might be something like, oh, I know it's hard. But this is for the best. I love him. Okay. And coming to my child, responding to him with this thought and these emotions, how's that going to fuel my behavior? My behavior will then look like this. I stay consistent. Consistent. There we go. Express love. And offer reassurance. So that's what it looked like yesterday with my son. I said, I know this is hard. I know it's disappointing. But there has to be a consequence to breaking a rule. So we'll try again tomorrow. All right. And so then the result is our relationship can become is built on respect. Built on respect. There's consistency. We know what to expect. Oops, sorry. That actually feels really good. Oh, it's very reassuring when I stand my ground, not in a tyrant sort of way, but just this is our family rule. And with my child yesterday, I'm like, you're number 6. I'm not changing the rules now. I've been through this before. And so let's do a different activity. Let's get our minds thinking about something else. And a lot of times, if they're just so worked up, then you have to start doing that activity, and then they're like, oh, what are you doing? So this is where we can see the change. The change comes from our thinking creating a new set of emotions, which then fuels better behavior, and we have a better result. And that's how cognitive behavioral work can help us. So feel free to check out my YouTube channel. I have other examples of using the thought cycle diagram. And if you want some help with that, contact me, michellecox.mindset@gmail.com. You can email me, be happy to help you out. But thank you for joining me today. Get out there, have some fun with your kids. Love those screens, but keep them at the right time, in the right limits. Use those strategies. Let me know it worked. See you later. Bye bye.